Hey, it's Mitch, Native Survival. I want to share a funny story today that was also pretty serious. Kind of an adventure I had a couple years ago in the winter. It involved freezing temperatures, a river crossing, very cold water. Stay tuned. You know, sitting here warming up my feet, watching the steam come off them and my clothes. Drying my pants off. I'm reminded of a little adventure I had back in early 2009, maybe January or February, and so it's the middle of winter, you know, and it's going on about maybe 4 years ago now. In a few months will be early 2013. So I was crossing a river, actually not too far from here. It was probably between 4 and 6 feet deep or so, something like that. And so I was crossing in winter, and it was cold out, tons of snow on the ground, of course, right? It was probably, I don't know, maybe 10 below freezing, something like that, 20 degrees, 10 degrees, something like that. So, anyways, I'm crossing this river, and I've got my my ruck on. Back then, I was using the U.S. military Alice pack, and monster ruck, you know, I mean, way overweighted with gear. You know, I had like 50 pounds of gear in that thing, crap, really. Tons of stuff I didn't need, right? So, here I am with a 50-pound pack, way overloaded, you know, and I decided that I was going to bend over a maple sapling that was long enough to make it across this river. I really didn't feel like trying to find a way around it, and I didn't want to build a proper bridge. So, you know, it's only 5 feet deep, right? No big deal. So I bend over this maple sapling, you know, I mean, like, small tree, really. And it wasn't really easy to bend over, but I got it done. So I bend it over, and kind of did a barber chair where the back end of it split out and allowed it to bend perfectly. So now it's laying across this little river here. And it's probably maybe 12-15 feet wide, something like that. So I'm walking across this maple sapling. I'm 3/4 of the way across, you know, I'm holding on to the branches, shimmying over, and I hear a crack. Well, the side of the tree that I bent over finished and went down. So I go flying into the water, and I got this huge pack on my back, you know. So I go down on all fours and just get my head up above water. And I stand up real quick. For a few seconds there, I had water up to my neck, everything else was underwater, you know. And I stood up, water was probably about here on me. Water was pretty cold. So, just walked across the river at that point, right? So I climb up onto the other bank, standing in the snow, of course, right? A couple feet of standing snow on the ground. And now, here's where it gets interesting, you know. I could make a fire immediately if I felt like I was really in trouble. That moment, exactly that moment. I would have completely stripped down all my clothes, completely wrung them all out, built a fire while it's building, while I'm doing this. Okay, build a fire as fast as possible, take all my clothes off, wring them all out, really, really, really good. All of them. And I'd go about the process there I'm going to talk about in a minute. And I would have done it right there, at the other side of that river. But I only had a half-hour walk to my camp, so I figured, what the heck. So I'm walking through the woods on some of the trails heading back to my camp, and I'm absolutely soaked to the bone. It is crazy freezing outside. There was no wind, which was excellent because that would have made it that much more unbearable. But you know, I was so wet that when I walked, the water was like leaving underneath my shoes, you know what I mean? Absolutely soaked to the bone. So I get to camp, 20 minutes, half hour later, whatever it is, I don't know, it's about a half-mile walk. Back then, I didn't have a ferro rod. I only made fire with flint and steel. That's it. So then I had to go out, and I had a little cattail on me, but I had to go out and grab a tinder bundle, and nearby there was some broom sedge growing, so I grabbed some of that, you know, whipped up a quick tinder bundle, very quick, very quick tinder bundle, got a fire going, no time flat, right? Had a minute and a half, I had a good flame, I was doing my thing, stripped off all my clothes, wrung them all out, and I sat down, kind of like what I am right now, except, you know, you kind of work on each individual layer, putting it right next to the fire, your legs and your arms, both sides, all of that, right? You turn around, you squat down next to it to get your back, everything, right? And all the steam was just leaving. And I kept on doing that until pretty much I was completely dry. And I was naked in the woods, so I was pretty cold, you know? But I wasn't as cold as you'd think, because I was standing next to this fire that's so warm on my skin that the water was steaming off of me. Once I finished that process, which took maybe 5 minutes, I was actually pretty toasty warm. I wasn't even cold. If there was a huge wind blowing by, I would have felt the cold, but I wasn't. I was pretty warm. Then I just held over my underwear until they steamed like crazy and got really warm to the touch. Then I put them on, instantly warming up my core, making everything nice and happy. You know what I'm saying? Did the same thing with my pants, lightly. I didn't go out of control, but I just steamed the areas that were going to be inconvenient to steam later. You know, like my crotch and the back side, things like that. I didn't worry about the ends of my pants because I could do that with them on. It's not a big deal. So, and then I put all my clothes back on, and I sat over the fire just like this and steamed all my clothes. You know, hulked right over it. I mean, steam was just pouring off of me, you know, off of my clothes. And, you know, for the most part, within a half hour, 40 minutes, I was perfectly dry, perfectly content, and I never lost my cool the whole time, you know, even though it was 10-20 degrees. And I fell in a river in the middle of, I think it was February, in the middle of winter, up to my neck. And I had to walk a half mile through the snow. I didn't lose my cool. You know, there's some lessons to be learned from that. You know? Number one, I was calm the whole time. I didn't get all crazy and frantic and oh my god, what's gonna happen, you know? You're wet. You get wet all the time, you know? Every time you take a bath, every time you take a shower, every time you jump in a lake, every time you jump in a river, you get wet. It happens, you know? The only reason why it would have been more stressful is because it was really cold out and there was snow on the ground. Okay. Right on. So, understand that. That's all there is. This would normally be a normal thing if it was summer. If I was wet. I'd be in my bathing suit wearing almost nothing. Okay, so why am I stressed out? Because it's cold. Okay, then warm up. Right? So first thing you gotta do is get dry. You need to get rid of all that moisture out of your clothes. You know? So by having a game plan and understanding of what comes next and what's important in what order, you can stay calm. Because it's very easy, you know? Very easy to get dry. Take your clothes off, you wring them out. Dry them as best you can with your hands. Start a fire. Dry them out like that. Done. Done deal. You know? Dry yourself out in the process. Put your clothes back on. Make something to eat because you're done. No big deal. And if I felt like, again, I was, you know, really in trouble and I needed to make a fire immediately, I would have done that immediately. But that's the thing, you know, you're able to think clearly if you're calm. I was able to imagine Do I have it in me to walk that half hour to camp? I did. So I did, right? And I made a flint and steel fire, soaked to the bone. It's alright, because I had confidence I could do it, because I had done it 100 times before. I knew the area, it was my camp. I knew where I could get a tinder bundle like that, okay? So, self-confidence and knowledge is a big part of the game. Because if you don't know anything and you fall in a river, what am I going to do? How am I going to get dry? Oh my God, now it's a big problem. But if you practice these skills, and if you're comfortable with making fire quickly, with whatever method you want to use, and you know that you have to wring your clothes out, and that's all you have to do is wring your clothes out, stand over the fire, dry them out good, steam them up, put them back on, finish steaming them, and you're done, well then you're not so worried anymore. You know, I walked out of the woods that day warmer than when I went in. You know what I'm saying? Just because I understood what I needed to do, when I needed to do it, and how I was going to do it. And that's a big part of the game. It's a big part of the game is mental. So I just wanted to pass on that little adventure story I had. It's kind of funny, and it's also kind of interesting because you know you can learn something from it. You know, I kept my head about me, and I just paid attention to what was important. You know, I made sure that I thought things through before I did anything. You know, it's not going to kill you to think for 30 seconds before you make an action. You know, that way you can make the right action. You can definitely set your focus to it. You know, my first thoughts were, do I need to make a fire right now, or can I walk to camp? First thing. Not, oh, my gear's wet, I got books, and I don't care. You know what I mean? I'm more important than my gear, you know? Then from there, I went. It's been Native Survival. Just want to pass on this little lessons learned adventure. Appreciate your views, comments, and your support. See you guys in the next one. Take care.